Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My mom had a true gift. She wasn't a professional photographer, but you'd never know it from her work. She had a way of making the most mundane moments look extraordinary. Like the way the sunlight hit my dad's face as he napped on the couch, or how our old dog used to lounge in the yard. Her pictures were everywhere. If you walked into our house, you'd see them on every wall. Pictures of family trips, holidays, birthdays, lazy Sunday afternoons. Everyone loved her photography. She'd make albums for people as gifts, and they treasured them. It wasn't just that the pictures were beautiful. They told the story of our lives. They captured who we were and the love we shared as a family. When she died, it was the worst day of our lives. My dad adored her, absolutely adored her. I never saw him happier than when he was with her. They had this bond that you don't see often. They didn't have big dramatic fights or moments of distance. They were partners in every sense of the word. When she passed away, he wasn't just sad, he was broken. It hit me hard too, of course. I missed her every day. But watching my dad crumble was another layer of pain. He didn't know how to move forward without her. He stopped taking care of himself. He'd sit on his chair for hours, just staring at nothing. He didn't want to go out, didn't want to see anyone. It was like the world lost all colors for him. I tried to be there for him. I tried to keep things going, to maintain some sense of normalcy. But it wasn't enough. I remember thinking that if something didn't change, he might never come back from that darkness. When he met Linda, I was relieved. At first, she seemed like a positive force. She was talkative, outgoing, and most importantly, she seemed to make my dad smile again. I hadn't seen him laugh in a long time, and when he started going out with Linda, I saw glimmers of the man he used to be. I thought maybe she'd be the person to help him heal, to pull him out of that deep sadness. I tried to be supportive. I wanted him to find happiness again, and if Linda could bring that into his life, then I was all for it. Things seemed fine for a while. When Linda was over, I was polite. I listened to her talk about her work, her interests, and even joined in on some of the outings they planned. It was important to me that my dad saw I was making an effort. I thought if I gave it time, we'd all adjust to this new normal. When Linda moved in, though, everything changed. At first, it was small things, like comments about the house being dated or suggesting we try a different layout for the living room. I didn't think much of it. Everyone wants to feel at home, and she probably just wanted to put her own spin on the place. But as the weeks went by, her changes became more frequent and more noticeable. The vase my mom loved, the one she picked out on a family trip, disappeared from the dining table. The painting my parents bought on their anniversary was replaced with some generic piece from a home goods store. She even swapped out the curtains in the living room, claiming they were too heavy and made the space feel gloomy. I told myself it didn't matter. They were just things. But then Linda started talking about the photographs. I noticed it first in the way she looked at them. She'd walk past the framed pictures of my mom and dad, the ones hanging in the hallway, and her eyes would linger in a way that didn't feel friendly. I caught her shaking her head a few times, muttering things like, "There are so many of these." When she finally spoke up about it, she tried to frame it as a casual suggestion. "Have you thought about taking some of these down?" she asked one day while we were in the kitchen. "It's just that it feels a little crowded." I told her no, that they were important to me. I explained that my mom had taken those pictures, and they were all I had left of her. Linda didn't argue. She just nodded and said something like, "I understand." But the look on her face said otherwise. She wasn't happy about my answer, and it showed. I didn't think she'd actually do anything about it. I figured she'd let it go. But one day, I came home from work and the walls were bare. Every single photograph had been removed. I checked the living room, the hallway, my bedroom. Nothing. At first, I thought she just moved them. Maybe she was redecorating again, I told myself. But then I found them. All the frames and prints packed into boxes in the garage. I was furious. These photos were more than decorations. They were a connection to my mom. I demanded to know why she'd taken them down. She looked at me like I was being unreasonable and said, "It just felt like too much, like she's still here, staring at me all the time." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I tried to explain how much those pictures meant to me and my dad, but she brushed it off. I was so angry that I immediately started hanging them back up. I even brought out more photos and put them up. If Linda thought she could erase my mom, she was wrong. A few days later, I came home to find a pile of ashes in the backyard. Linda had burned the photos, all of them. I can't even describe the level of pain I felt in that moment. Those pictures weren't just images. They were pieces of my mom's life, her artistry, her memory. They were the only tangible link I had left to her, and Linda had destroyed them. I shouted at her and called her every name in the book. All she said was that I'm rude, spoiled, and disrespectful. When I told my dad, he was upset. He told Linda that she was wrong and that she'd crossed the line. For a brief moment, I thought maybe he'd finally stand up for me, for my mom's memory. But then Linda started crying. She apologized. She said she didn't realize how much it would hurt me, that she felt overwhelmed by all the reminders of my mom in the house. She cried how hard it is living in another's shadow and how uncomfortable and unwelcomed she feels in the house. My dad forgave her. I couldn't believe it. I told him she didn't just hurt me. She took something that could never be replaced. But he just said, "She made a mistake. She's sorry. We need to move forward." I couldn't forgive her. I didn't know how to. She had destroyed the most precious things I had left of my mom, and my dad acted like it was no big deal. I didn't know what else to do, so I turned to my dad's family. I told them what Linda had done, and they were furious. They loved my mom, and they couldn't believe Linda would be so cruel. I just needed someone to hear me, to understand how much it hurt. I didn't expect them to do anything, but I felt a little less alone knowing they were on my side and that I'm not overreacting. When my dad and Linda's wedding day arrived, I debated whether to even go. I felt like my presence would be hypocritical. But in the end, I decided to go, mostly for my dad and not to stir the drama. But then I saw my dad's family. They were wearing t-shirts with my mom and dad's wedding photo printed on them. Seeing them standing there, honoring my mom and throwing it into Linda's face, and for me, was overwhelming. Part of me felt proud, like someone was finally standing up for her. But another part of me knew it was going to cause chaos. Sure enough, Linda saw the t-shirts and exploded. She screamed at my dad's family, accusing them of trying to ruin her wedding. She demanded they leave and then turned on me, saying it was all my fault. She claimed I put them up to it, that I was trying to sabotage her big day. I told her I didn't have anything to do with it, but she wasn't interested in listening. She tried to kick me out too, but I said I was leaving anyway because I couldn't bear to watch my dad marry her. My dad stood there, not saying a word. He went ahead and married her. After that, I knew I couldn't go back home. I packed my things and moved out. I couldn't live under the same roof as Linda, and I couldn't forgive my dad for choosing to marry her after everything she had done. It's been months since the wedding, but I still can't get past it. I don't understand how my dad could let that happen. I don't understand how he could forgive her and choose her over our family's memories. Honestly, I don't even know what to say. Linda's behavior was beyond disrespectful, and it's baffling that OP's dad just went along with it after she burned the photos. Those weren't just pictures. Those were pieces of OP's mother's life, her love, and her passion. It's heartbreaking that Linda felt so threatened by OP's mother's memory that she had to destroy it rather than find a way to coexist. I can't imagine the pain of losing those memories and then being told to just move on. It's not just about the pictures. It's about the lack of basic human decency and understanding. And OP's father's family is wild. What can I say? And now let's hear the community's opinion. Those pictures were in the family. They were part of your home, your history, and your memories. And then the whole living in another woman's shadow thing. Seriously? Your mom passed away. It's not like you were shoving these pictures in her face to make her uncomfortable. They were up because they were meaningful. Linda sounds like someone who can't handle not being the center of attention, and your dad should have had your back on this. You were just holding on to what little you had left of your mom, and that's perfectly valid. Linda's actions weren't just insensitive, they were cruel. She knew how important those pictures were to you. Yet she chose to burn them just so she could feel more comfortable. That's not a mistake or a misunderstanding. That's a deliberate act of selfishness. And the fact that she used crying and guilt to manipulate your dad into forgiving her, that's next level toxic. Your dad should have stood up for you and your mom's memory, not brushed it off as a mistake that could be excused. You have every right to be upset, and honestly, I'd feel the same way about moving out after all that. I'm sorry you had to go through this. I think your dad's family wearing those t-shirts was the only appropriate response. Linda tried to erase your mom's memory, and they made it clear that wasn't going to happen. Honestly, good on them for standing up for her. Linda's actions were cruel, and her excuses about living in someone else's shadow are just ridiculous. No one was trying to overshadow her. It was simply about keeping your mom's memory alive. Instead of showing understanding or even basic empathy, she chose to destroy what mattered most to you. I don't blame you for walking away. Not the a-hole at all. You did nothing wrong, and anyone in your situation would feel just as betrayed and hurt. So, my husband's parents covered the cost of all his schooling and the down payment for his first apartment. In return, my husband told his parents that they could retire and enjoy their pension because he would do the same for his younger sister. Otherwise, his parents would have continued to work until she was done with school, and they had her set up. They're immigrants, so this is very important to them. My husband makes in the high six figures, and I'm a stay-at-home wife. He has covered the cost of her undergrad and now law school for her and bought her an apartment in that city because she plans to work there later. Sister got engaged a few months ago, but her fiancé is a doctor doing his residency. My husband doesn't want them to wait to start their life by waiting until they can actually afford to pay for their own wedding. So he has given them a pretty big budget so they can start planning. I'm upset about this because I think this expands beyond his promise to his parents and is being unfair to my own siblings. When my younger brother was trying to buy an apartment, my husband would not pitch in. When my sister was going to school, my husband didn't pitch in. He apparently only has money to help his own family, even though he expects me to treat his sister as my own. He won't treat my siblings as his own. He said that paying for the wedding was a tacit part of his promise because obviously the bride's parents cover most of the cost of a wedding. I told him his sister and her fiancé are more than prepared to be able to cover their own wedding after all the support he's given them. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. Sorry, but he promised his parents, and it sounds like you were well aware of the commitment he made to his family before you got married. He did not make such a promise to your family. Would it be nice if he was as generous to your family as his? Yes, especially as you are a stay-at-home mom. You can indicate that at some point you'd like to join the workforce so you can help your family out, and he can bear the burden of childcare, but he is under no obligation to help your siblings out. You're the a-hole. What is stopping you from using your own income to pay for your brother and sister? What makes it your husband's responsibility to cover college or real estate for your family? That's on you, lady. Better get to work. He is entitled to help his family so long as the family unit he created with you and any children you have is not suffering. His generosity is an ode to your family. That's a lot of gold digger talk. Your sister-in-law is not the mooch. You are. If you're so entitled to his money, get a job so you can understand what it means to earn for a living. They're his family. He can do what he wants. Also, his parents paid for everything of his. Bet you weren't complaining when you were inhaling all the free stuff. All he's doing is giving back. He can do that. Also, how stupid of you to think that your siblings would be the same as his. If you want to give them stuff, get off your lazy butt and earn money. Your siblings aren't entitled to his. I, male, have 2 daughters, Dina, 19 female, and Penny, 25 female. They don't have such a close relationship, as they're from different mothers, and only at 18 years old, Penny came to live with me fully. When I bought my house, 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 5 years ago, Penny got the biggest room as she was the oldest, and Dina got the smallest. In fact, the rooms are exactly the same size, but Penny's has its own bathroom. Penny recently decided to move to a big city to get better job opportunities in her area, and moved in with a friend. She comes home every 1 month and stays for the weekend. She is still not in a good position at the company, and I send her a monthly allowance that covers her share of the rent and bills. She's been away from home for 2 months, and I noticed that Dina didn't move into Penny's room, even though it was empty. I thought she didn't want to, and I didn't ask about it. But last week, while we were cleaning Penny's old room, some of my friends were going to visit, and I ended up asking why she didn't move into the empty room and make this simpler one for a visit. She said something like, "Oh, I'll get it next week. I paid for everything already." I was surprised and asked what she was talking about. She told me that Penny offered her room for, fictitious value, $2,000, 3.5 times the amount I help her with financially. And Dina got all that amount this week, paid her. She was just waiting for my friends to visit to move in. This made me angry because it's my house and she was selling a room she didn't live in anymore, and Dina had spent all her savings on her part-time jobs. I called Penny, trying to stay on the line, but I lost my mind. Maybe when she said it would affect her as she would be missing out on a good room when visiting, or if she possibly moves back home. When I demanded that she return all the money, she said that she had already spent it on something else. I was disappointed. I said that the room would be Dina's, as she had manipulated her sister, said I was fine with. I was more than okay to not continue helping financially, as she had received $2,000 in hands, and she would not be welcomed coming home until she returned the full amount to her sister, and just then I think about helping again. She started to cry, saying that I was being an extremist and that she needed my help because her mother was not in a position to help. Other than that it was her room and she could do whatever she wanted and needed money, main reason why she charged. Well, it even got to my ex calling me an a-hole and saying I went too far. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Your little girl is living way beyond her means. I wonder if she even has a job. Something is up that she is scamming so hard. You need to find out where she works and do a surprise visit, just to see if she actually has a job. Not the a-hole. Penny is no longer a resident, so not entitled to the room. Also, she has no ownership rights because she is not an owner nor a resident. Penny is an a-hole. Restitution to Dina should be made by whatever means you deem necessary. Your ex is an a-hole as well. Not the a-hole. Penny's actions were terrible, so she deserves the consequences. As a minimum, I'd be diverting Penny's allowance to Dina until she gets her money back. I do wonder, though, why Dina didn't say anything about this to you and agreed to pay the money. Surely 19 is old enough to know better. My girlfriend wanted a custom engraved leather belt or something called red bottom shoes for her birthday. I worked extra hours and cut back on stuff the past month so I could get her both. Even though I placed the orders almost a full month before her birthday, there were some problems, and the shoes were going to arrive the day after her birthday, and the belt a couple of days after that. I told her that her big major present was delayed, and she was okay with it. We had dinner with her parents and family for her birthday, and I didn't want to be completely empty-handed and look like a bad boyfriend, so I got her some smaller placeholder gifts so she'd have something to open for me on her actual birthday. I got her a couple of small squishy mellows with a bag of her favorite chocolates. She looked really disappointed when she opened my present, and one of her uncles kind of chuckled and went, "Ooh, looks like someone's on the couch tonight." I explained that my big gift to her was late, and this was just so she had something to open on her day, and I thought she'd like it. My girlfriend asked why I didn't get her something off her holiday list, and I told her because those items are all expensive, and I already spent $700 on her birthday gifts. If I got her one of those items now, I wouldn't be able to afford holiday gifts for her. When I was leaving, her dad gave me some money and told me to go pick up one of those items on her holiday list, because as her boyfriend, I should be willing to go all out for her birthday and holiday with gifts, if I'm serious about being with her, and he expected more of me. I was so embarrassed, I told him thanks anyway, but I'd figure something out. He must have told her what happened because now she and her dad think I'm not serious about her, since I wouldn't take the money to get her a different gift. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Think twice before committing yourself to that family. If she can't wait a day or two for her really generous big gifts, and her dad would rather throw money at you than let her have even a day or two of discomfort, that's no bueno. Someone is spoiled. Not the a-hole. You couldn't control the delivery, and she should be happy you've spent $700 on the gifts at all. I would be like, whoa, if my partner spent that much money on 2 gifts. The fact she pouted even though you made her aware that her gifts would be late makes her a bit spoiled, really. And the fact that she expected another expensive gift in place until her other presents got there is unreasonable as well. I'd love squishmallows. I want the pigeon or duck with the Santa that I saw the other day. OP, you've really done a lot for your girlfriend. Working extra hours, cutting back on your own personal spending, ordering the gifts earlier in hopes that they would arrive on time. You've gone above and beyond to show her that you love and appreciate her and want her to feel special on her birthday. What's more is you let her know in advance that her big gifts are on their way, but will be a day or two late. This is no fault of your own. You also got her some cute small gifts to open on her actual birthday, and she still somehow was disappointed anyway. OP, you've done nothing wrong here, and I think your girlfriend has some seriously unrealistic expectations that are probably fueled by the way her family treats her birthdays and holidays. It would be a really good idea to sit her down and talk through this with her. You don't have the same means as her father, and you already made a big investment into her birthday. I know we all have our different love languages, but your relationship shouldn't revolve around how many expensive things you're able to buy for her. If your partner is unable to appreciate the effort you've put into getting her the gifts she wanted for her birthday, even if they're a couple days late, there is someone out there who will. You are absolutely not the a-hole here. My husband and I have 2 daughters. Let's call them Emma, 32 female, and Sam, 29 female. My husband died of a stroke 2 years ago, and he left everything to me. I'm rewriting my will as well in case something happens to me. Originally, everything was split 50-50 between the girls, but now I'm splitting about 80-20 in favor of Emma. Emma has ADHD and isn't doing great in life. In those days, everyone just assumed she was lazy, and she didn't get the help children today get until she was in her teens. She just managed to finish high school and is working at a retail store as a stalker. It's backbreaking, and she doesn't have much in the way of savings or anything. Her car was her father's when he passed. Sam works in tech as a project manager, and her husband is a doctor. They live in a $1 million house and have 2 kids. I'm not worried about Sam. She's always been very capable and excelled at everything. She was always the overachiever, and I don't think she needs help financially. Her and her husband probably take home $500K after taxes a year. I want Emma to inherit the house and car when I pass. I think it will be good for her because she can live in it or sell it and buy another one. Sam will be fine, and her husband have several houses and a summer home. But Sam is angry with me because I've made it clear that Emma gets most of our belongings. The bank savings and stocks will go to Sam, but if I live to 80s, she won't have too much, probably 20 to 30% of what the house is worth. But I think it's fair because she's doing much better. Sam called me to yell at me, saying I'm favoring Emma. I reminded her of how much worse off Emma is than her, but she said since they were both my daughters, she should get things 50-50, or it's favoritism. She reminded me that growing up, we always spent more on Emma than her. But that's because she was at the top of her class while Emma was failing. I put Emma in extra tutoring and the like because she needed it more. She said I should will half of the inheritance to her children for college funds, but I reminded her she makes more and can save for them. I told her it's not about me favoring Emma over her, but Emma is worse off, and she will be fine, which resulted in her hanging up and refusing to come over for Christmas. I always think these are the kind of decisions that tear families apart. It often translates as favoritism, no matter your rationale or intentions. Also, no one can predict the future. Emma could win lotto tomorrow, and equally, Sam could have a life mishap that results in financial distress. So don't base it on current situations. Base it on they are both your daughters, loved equally, and should share the inheritance. Split it 50-50. Otherwise, you're the a-hole. It's your estate to do with what you want. But don't assume that just because 2 daughters are at one place in life now, they won't be in a different position later. Also, will one daughter be an executor, have power of attorney, be involved in future elder care? If so, does your split of assets align with which daughter you'd want in those roles? Slight you're the a-hole. I'm on the side that it should be fair regardless their personal achievements. Both can inherit the house with the stipulation that Emma be allowed to continue to live there. But if the house is sold, it is split between the 2. In our situation, the attorney drew up a continency agreement. You should check into it. So I, 29, gave birth to my very first baby in April of last year. I was told several years ago by my doctor that I would be unable to get pregnant at all. So this was basically a miracle for me and my fiancé. Well, my little sister, 27, felt very left out during my entire pregnancy because I got so much attention and she didn't get any. She's the baby of the family, so she's used to always having attention, I guess. A few months ago, she announced that her and her fiancé were going to start trying to get pregnant, and she told me and our other sister that we are not allowed to get pregnant, married, or have any major life events until she has her baby, because she wants all of the attention. If we would have a major life event, it would take the spotlight from her. Well, a few weeks ago, she got a positive pregnancy test, which is truly very exciting. I'm so happy for her. But then a few days later, I also got a positive pregnancy test. I couldn't even be excited about it because I was so worried about my sister being mad at me. I finally told her about it, and she's very upset, as expected. We also didn't plan to get pregnant, so it's not like I did it to be an a-hole and steal her spotlight. Accidents happen. But she thinks that we should have taken extra precautions so that we could obey her wishes. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I want to make it clear that I never told her, okay, we won't have another baby or major life event until you have a baby. In no way do I enable her or cater to her every wish. Not the a-hole. I just checked. The earth does not revolve around your sister. Her request that you not get pregnant at the same time as her is ridiculous. I missed the part where anyone telling you when or when not to get pregnant is okay. I also missed the part where getting pregnant could be viewed as a means to get attention. I also missed the part where there isn't enough love and celebration to go around when there are two women in the same extended family who are pregnant. You were never the a-hole. Not the a-hole. She needs to grow up. She's so worried about attention and thinks she's ready to have a child. Your body, your choice. She can get over it, and she's about to have bigger problems to deal with.